Coach, you ready? You ready? Listen to Hinky. Hey gang, Mark, you hear me all right?
Yep, gotcha.
First, I'd like to congratulate Aaron Beard for getting a camera on his computer. That's really impressive, Aaron. After 6 long months, you've got that figured out. That's good. That's good for you. Injury update here to start off with. Just a reminder, Ethan West will be out for the season with an upper body. We announced that pregame. Storm Duck will be out this week. Jaquarius Conley, Emery Simmons, Ray Vahasek will be evaluated during the week, and we'll learn about their availability for game as we move through it. All right? Coach Brown.
Thank you, Jeremy. Good morning to everybody. First, our game time has been changed on Saturday night. It was moved from 7 o'clock ESPN to 7:30 ABC National. And that's because there was a change in some other game because of COVID. So 2020 just continues to be a year of change. So it will be 7:30 ABC National on Saturday night instead of 7 o'clock ESPN. And I think the other game that is in question was Baylor and Oklahoma State as you start looking at your stuff. Happy to have fans in the stadium on Saturday. It did make a difference. There were only 3,500, but the students were a huge factor, and it was fun and felt a little bit more like a normal game for us. So it'll be fun to have fans in the stands at Florida State. So it'll feel more like normal than anything else. Happy for the win on Saturday. Virginia Tech's been a tough opponent for North Carolina for years. Coach Fuente had beaten us 4 in a row, and over the years a game that we'd had trouble winning, and then even last year with the 6 overtimes we had our opportunities and didn't get that accomplished. So really happy. It's a huge win for us and a game for our program that we needed. Happy also that we're 5th and 6th in the country in the polls. It's fun. It's good for recruiting. It's good for our fans to have some bragging rights, and we haven't been rated for a long time this high. And does it mean anything? No, not really. I've always told the players until the college football playoff polls come out, probably be in November this year, that's the first time I even look at the polls, because then everybody has a resume. We know who's good and who's not. We've got a couple of teams, few teams right now that everybody think are great, and then the rest of us are a lot alike. And it depends on injuries and who's healthy enough to play, and it depends on how you play that Saturday. So we're one of those teams. We're a team that has to play well every Saturday before we can have a chance to win. And that's what we've told the guys. So how do we manage expectations? We just tell the truth. And we're factual with them, and we'll continue to do that each week. We are making progress. We're ahead of schedule. We're learning how to win. We're winning differently each weekend, which is something that's important to note. So the defense struggled some on Saturday against a really good Virginia Tech offense, and the offense stepped up and had its best day. So that's just what you have to do to be able to win. Offensively, we had great balance, and that's who we want to be, is what we saw on Saturday. We had 186 yards rushing at halftime, 186 yards passing. Sam had a fantastic day. Oh my gosh, after the game, I said, hey, great game. He said, well, I threw that one low to Dami. I mean, that's Sam. He's a perfectionist, but he called the game well. He got us in the right plays, and he managed the entire game well. And the offensive line played by far their best game. They dominated the line of scrimmage. In fact, the offense for us dominated this game, and that's the reason we won the game, because their offense was very, very good. We knew that. And then we didn't play as well in the second half as we needed to on defense. But other than one sack, we had 3 drops, and the rest of it, we played well. So when you can pick out 4 plays on offense that you'd like to have back, it's usually a really good day. The other thing that I was very, very impressed with is no turnovers on offense, obviously, but the fact that we were 5 for 5 for touchdowns in the red zone. And that's an area that we really wanted to improve. It says 5 for 6 on the stats. We took a knee on the last one, so I'm not going to count that. But when we were trying to score, the guys were 5 for 5 for touchdowns. Defensively, you got to give Virginia Tech credit on offense. They were rushing for over 300 yards coming in. I'm not proud that we held them to 260. I don't think that's an accomplishment. But you look at guys like Hooker. He plays so well. He's big. He's fast. He can beat you running the ball. He can run the option. He can throw it downfield. He's tall. He can see. He's hard to tackle. And then you Trey Thompson, Mitchell, Herbert, they've got really good players on offense. That offensive line's really good. So the combination of them being really good, and then in the third quarter we stayed on the field too long. We gave up a couple of big plays, and then the onside kick was a killer because we were too wide. We weren't lined up where we should have been. They did a really good job kicking the ball. It was the perfect kick and recovery, but that kept us on the field for 2 complete drives, and we don't have a lot of depth on defense, and we've got a lot of inexperience on our defense. So it put us in a tough spot, but then I was proud that our offense came back and dominated the fourth quarter again. We missed too many tackles. We gave up too many big plays. A lot of things we've got to fix. I thought the biggest thing that we gave up 3 touchdowns for 3 trips in the red zone. So as many things as we did well on offense, we didn't do well on defense, but we did play well enough to win. We have got to force ourselves to play younger players earlier in the game so we can get some rested legs. It happened to us last year. The coaches still aren't trusting the players enough. Me neither. We got to put them out there. And we're in tight games all the time, so it's hard to do. And again, we mentioned Charlotte before. It hurt us that we didn't get a chance to play those guys. But you can really get better in games a lot more than practice. You can get your fundamentals in practice, but without game experience, you can't get where you need to be. And we're still not forcing turnovers on defense. We dropped 2 balls that we could have had as interceptions. We're not stripping the ball. We've got to do a better job in those areas. It's amazing we're 3-0 with as few turnovers as we forced for the year. So we're still a work in progress on defense. I was just thinking that Kyler McMichael played mostly special teams at Clemson his first year. He was out last year, so he's played 3 games at corner. And then you start looking at Don Chapman. He's a very young safety. Cam Kelly really played in his first full game on Saturday, and Patrice Renee's been out for a year. So a lot of inexperienced in those positions. Special teams, by and large, were good. Ben Kiernan punted for over 45 yards a punt. Our coverage was excellent. Grayson Atkins was 100% with his extra points, and Jonathan Kim continues to be a huge factor for us with his kickoffs because he didn't let Herbert touch the ball very often at all. And when we had the very poor unsportsmanlike penalty and moved the kickoff back, he made an outstanding tackle on Herbert that could have saved a touchdown. So good for Jonathan Kim. And then we continue to have too many penalties. We have got to clean that up. That's 10 penalties 3 straight weeks. And we keep screaming, we keep harping, but it's the same old thing, so it needs to get fixed. The players of the game offensively, everybody played well. The receivers blocked well, the tight end blocked well. Those backs are really special. Sam played one of his best games, but the coaches voted the entire offensive line as the players of the game on offense. The player of the game on defense was Kyler McMichael because he was out there by himself on an island and stood up. They only completed 1 ball on him, and the special teams player of the game was Jonathan Kim. Really proud of the fourth quarter. We got whipped in the fourth quarter at Blacksburg last year, but we had the ball for 10 minutes and 11 seconds in the fourth quarter compared to 4 minutes and 49 seconds. We had 161 yards rushing compared to their 27, and 203 yards total yards compared to their 77. And I thought the offensive staff did a tremendous job of slowing the game down with about 10 minutes left to go without stopping our momentum. And that's hard to do, so I was proud of them. Florida State, let me first say our thoughts and prayers continue with Coach Bowden. He's a special man, and I've got a picture of he and I with that great game that we had here in my office, and I always want to have a program that was as good as his. It's 14 straight years, as best I remember, of fourth or better in the country and national championships during that run. So what a consistency, and nobody's ever done it better than Coach Bowden. So, Coach, we love you, and we hope you're doing well. As far as Miami's concerned, once again, Mike Norvell was a high school coach in Dallas when I was at Texas, and he was a superstar at Tulsa, and then he was the hot young offensive coordinator at Arizona State for Todd Graham. Took the job at Memphis, and I had a lot of his games for my 3 years, and I could tell he was going to be a superstar as a head coach. He was a guy that I had on my list as hiring as a coordinator when I was at Texas, and if it ever came open, and then same thing when he got to be a head coach. And I thought, as I was looking around, this guy is he's one of the next great young coaches that's out there. So I'm not surprised that Florida State jumped all over him, and he will do a super job there. You can tell they're already headed in that direction. They got a very tough early schedule. To have to play Miami and Notre Dame on the road, most of us would have lost those 2 games. So that they're getting better. They're the most talented team we've played to this point. They're huge and can run on defense. Marvin Wilson's the #1 draft pick as a defensive tackle. He's 6'5", 305 pounds, and can run. Gainer is all over the place as a linebacker, and all I have to do is say the name of a great corner, and that's Asante Samuel Jr., because Senior was a tremendous player. And they brought in Jordan Travis the other day in the Notre Dame game, and he's played really, really well at quarterback. And we always know that Florida State's got some of the best skill in the country. So, questions?
Hey, thanks, Coach. Just a reminder to the group, use the raise hand function if you have a question. And please state your name and media affiliation. We will begin today with Dina King. So, Dina, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Dina King, Tar Heel Illustrated. You spoke about fourth quarter success last year. When Virginia Tech cut that lead to deficit to 5 points, how big was scoring back-to-back touchdowns in the fourth quarter?
Dina, really good teams answer when somebody scores. And that's what you have to do. And that's what we told our team. As long as we keep scoring, they can't outscore us. And then the same thing at the end. We slowed the game down because we were having trouble stopping them. They were having trouble stopping us. So it just made sense that it doesn't matter the number of points you beat somebody by. You just want to win the game. But that was a huge answer at that point. We had chance after chance to keep it at 21 or more, but the 20 unanswered points in the third quarter put us back in a game, and then we had to work our way back out. So really, really proud of the offense. That nobody panicked, nobody was screaming at each other on the sideline, and nobody got frustrated. Everybody just went back to work and did what they'd been doing all day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move over to Luke Buxton.
Hey, Coach. Taking back to 1997, last time you took the Heels to a top 5 ranking in the AP poll, I'm curious what the difference was in not only the 2 teams, but also kind of in your career and your mentality, your thoughts, your passions, your drives of taking that team to a top 5 ranking versus this team 23 years later to a top 5 ranking.
Luke, that team was deeper and more talented, especially on defense, because we had been good for a long time. We're ahead of where I thought we would be at this time, but we still don't have enough depth. We still don't have enough experience in key positions on defense. Offensively, we've been around for a while. The guys have all played. There's no new starters that you just throw out there and you have to play. But defensively, we're not there yet. We needed spring practice. We need the Charlotte game. We needed to develop some depth, and we haven't gotten that. So I think the biggest difference in the two right now is we're probably more explosive now on offense than we were back in '97. But the defense at that time was the best defense in the country. So they were dominating games and not letting anybody score. And when Coach Bowden brought his bunch in, I actually thought we were 4-5 at that time in the polls, and they were 1, and it was one of the best teams I've ever seen. I think I called them the NFL East or something. They were so good. But that's what was wrong at that time. Florida State was better, and all the rest of us were second or below because they were the best team in the country. But that's what we want to get back to, having teams like we had then, especially on defense.
All right, let's go over to CL Brown.
All right, Mack, CL Brown, Raleigh News and Observer. Kind of piggybacking on that, would you say that, mentioning how much more explosive the offense is now as opposed to '97, would you say that's a byproduct of the game today itself? It's like, a lot of the rules have been changed to make offenses more explosive than they were back in the '90s, or as you said, it's a matter of the amount of skill guys you have and just how the offense has been built.
CL, we were talking about this yesterday, and Alabama's given up 45 points, and LSU's given up 45 points, and Texas and Oklahoma are 53-48 or something. It's just a different game right now than it was back then. I think our defense was giving up 202 yards and 9.7 points or something a game, and people do that on the first drive now, or the second drive of the game. I think it's a product of all of the above, because we've talked about it and we've tried to study it. There's absolutely no doubt that the rules make it easier on offense than defense, because I really think people want to see points scored. That's how you get viewers. That's how you get people at the game. So it's always been that way. Secondly, with the hurry up, they're spreading people out more and they're going faster. So you've got to be too deep of really good players on defense to stop anybody, because they're going fast, and you're one-on-one in a lot of different situations. So there's just more opportunity for people to score, and I think that because you can go so fast, it limits some of the calls you can make on defense. So it's simplifying some defenses as they spread out, and then you add COVID to it. I do think that the conditioning's down. And that affects defense more than it affects offense, because those defensive guys got to chase that ball for 3.5 or 4 hours. And games are longer now because everybody's throwing the ball so much. But I think it's all of the above, and I think you're exactly right. People are winning games 56-49 and being happy with it. I mean, it's just a different thing. I remember we beat Baylor maybe my last year or next to my last year at Texas, and it was one of those 57-54. And I walked off the field mad, and you better not be mad anymore. You got to figure out how to win and just forget it, because a lot of people are scoring a lot of points.
All right, and I also wanted to ask about the first possessions. You guys are 3 for 3 scoring touchdowns on the first drive of each game. What would you say is kind of been the secret to that success so far?
I really think it's scheming going into the game. We've had a great plan, and the guys are excited and they're ready to play. And then in the first 2 games, I thought we got frustrated some after that. But we didn't have the ball in the third quarter this game. We didn't have the ball in the second quarter against Syracuse, because we had a turnover offensively and we dropped a punt on special teams. So we lost 2 possessions there. So this is the first time our offense has been in sync, and I thought the offensive coaches had a tremendous plan of getting the ball out of Sam's hand quickly, getting it to our playmakers, and letting those 2 backs run.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Coach, if we can take one quick break, and we can announce the NC State game time if you would like.
Yes, the NC State game will be at noon. And it will be either on ESPN or ACC Network. We're just giving you all kinds of information today.
Great. Thanks, Coach. We will go over to Andrew Jones.
I did know that, Andrew, at 11, but I was threatened not to say it until it was released by the ACC Network. So if I had forgotten and slipped because of my experienced age, I was going to blame Jeremy.
You were trying out for Jeremy and Mark's job.
Yes.
Staying on the 97 game, that week, the national media dubbed that as Judgment Day. There were a couple other big games that went on in the country. At the time, ABC didn't do many primetime games, so ESPN primetime was the big game you guys were on. Game day was in Chapel Hill that day. Can you kind of take us back to the hype building up to what a lot of people still regard as the most important game this program has ever played that weekend?
Yes, I wish we'd won it. Then it would have been the most important one that we've ever played for sure. But I just remember the hype for the week, and so proud that our football program was getting so much attention nationally. And that's who you want to be. And it was helping recruiting. And I remember Coach Bowden, who I really admire and love. Before the game, he came out in his good old way and put his arm around me and said, "It's packed." There were people hanging off the sides of the stadium. It was so full. And he said, "Hey, boy, I never thought I'd see anything like this. This is really cool." and it was. It was who we wanted to be at that time. And I thought we had finally arrived. And then we couldn't block them. They were just so talented and beat us 20-3. And it was a great game, but it was a defensive game and very, very physical. And that's my memories of Florida State as we get ready to go to Tallahassee.
As we kind of connect some weird dots from 97 to this week, the last time Carolina played a game in their top 5 was that week. It happened to be against FSU. It's also the last time you faced your alma mater, if I'm correct, as a coach. So what are your kind of thoughts about that? All these dots being connected 23 years apart.
Oh, it is true. I hadn't thought about it till right now, but I haven't coached against them. I haven't been back to Tallahassee. So it'll be fun, and so much has changed down there since Coach Bowden left. But Jimbo Fisher won a national championship. They're still very talented, and we're going to have our hands full. So it feels no different than going to Tallahassee to play a very talented team that will be a tough game for us. I've always said to myself, when you've got a challenge, a positive person takes that as an opportunity. And these guys are so good. When you start watching their tape this week, you'll be amazed. And they're going to be a really good team by the end of the year. I hope it's not this weekend.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, Alyssa Ray, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, we talked last week about the potential of this offense, and you said you just wanted them to settle down and have fun. 56 points later, do you think that they did that?
Alyssa, they did. That's who we want to be. That's what we'd see on drives, but we didn't even see it for whole quarters, much less an entire ball game. And I'm so proud of them. Now the big question will be they can't get too full of themselves because they did well. They've got to come back and do it again this week. So if they can get to be that offense every week, we've got a chance to be really good.
What do you see out of Javonte Williams and Michael Carter as far as feeding off of each other? It seems like they kind of hype each other up, but also are competitive in a beneficial way for the team.
Yes, Alyssa, they're great young people, number one. They're so respectful of each other, and they have no jealousy at all. They're not selfish. If Michael runs it all the way down, Javonte takes it in for the touchdown. You know, you got some players in your past that would say, "What are you doing, man? I'm the one that got it down here." And there's none of that with these two guys. And I think it's out of respect. And they're also quiet leaders on the team. Michael's more outspoken than Javonte. Javonte never speaks. And, of course, he was valedictorian of his high school. So I don't want to talk to him. He's too smart to talk to me. I just say hello, and I don't want him asking me questions that I can't answer. But I have to think that they're among the best combination of backs in the country, if not the best, because it really doesn't matter when one's in the game. They both can do everything well, and they will both be outstanding NFL players at some point. They've got power, they've got vision, they've got patience, they can catch the ball. They're good pass protectors and did a better job in this game than they did against Boston College. And at the same time, they're They've got enough speed to take it all the way and enough power and vision to make the inside cuts. So we're really lucky to have those two guys. They are definitely our impact players.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Okay, Brendan Marks, go ahead.
Hey, Mac. Brendan Marks from The Athletic. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Brendan.
I hate to be the person to dwell on anything negative after a win like that, but you mentioned the penalties and the necessity of cutting those out. What are you seeing on tape that is sort of allowing these things to be a consistent problem, and how do you actually go about cutting them out now that you've seen 3 games worth of the same evidence?
Brendan, I brought it up. I mean, it's there. It's real. It's ugly. And I told the guys we can't be considered a disciplined team with a bunch of penalties. I said we act like we are, and we're not having turnovers, but come on, man. So we have officials at every practice. We have them call every penalty, and we document every one of them. We show it to them on video, and the penalties you have in practice are the ones that show up in a game. Now, we'll turn all those into the ACC office, and we'll get it back on tonight or tomorrow. That'll tell us 3 of them shouldn't have been called, and there'd have been 2 others that should have been called. I mean, that's the kind of stuff you get on Tuesday. But the guys have just got to go back and do it. 2 of them were false starts by Josh Azudu, who played better than any other offensive lineman. So I'm not going to bench him. And he hadn't played in a long time. And they were jumping around and calling signals and stuff, and that he flinched twice. He's a very bright kid, so that's not going to happen. He'll be good. We'll get rid of that one. But then you get the offensive pass interference with Diami. I mean, it's a did he grab us? Did we push him off thing? It's a judgment call. Diami's not going to have that happen. Hadn't happened since we've been here. So you've got to look at every penalty. Cedric Gray pulled one down on punt, and he was trying to get released, and the guy was holding him, and he took him to get him off of him and threw him down. That's offensive holding. I've never seen that call before. So I think you go back, Brendan, more than anything else, and you look at every penalty, and instead of saying it's a problem, you try to fix the individual. And we had a holding call that was holding on our offensive line. So you have to look at every one of them. And I think that's the biggest thing that you go through each week, and you take the individual, because these are individual penalties that hurt our team, and you coach that individual. And we told the players, we have to decide if you're going to have penalties, are you playing well enough to be in there if you can't keep from having penalties? Dazzy's penalty of unsportsmanlike conduct is uncalled for. We're not going to have that, period. 100%, and could have really cost our team, and he knows it, and he apologized for it. And then I was really proud of our team that with them having the 2 15-yard unsportsmanlike penalties at the end, as we stayed out of it, and we didn't get in a fight and cost ourselves a chance to have players playing this week. So I think the discipline's there. We've got to take it individually and clean it up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Aaron Beard, go ahead.
Hey, Mac, Aaron Beard with the AP. I was thinking about what you said the other day after the game about wanting to buy a house in this neighborhood, about perception, I guess, of how you guys are in the top 10. And I was thinking, too, about, 96 and 97, you guys had won 8, 9, 10 games even before you were in the top 10. So you'd sustained success over a longer period. I guess how important is that part of it, this idea of being more than just one highly ranked team, but something that has some staying power, something this program hasn't had a lot since you've first time you were here?
Aaron, it's the most important thing, is that's who you want to be. Right now, when people put up the top 5 and they see the other 4, they say, yeah, I got it. And then they see North Carolina and said, what are they doing in there? I mean, where'd that come from? Come on, man. They're not that good. We want it to be where when they put us in there, we've earned that right. And if we don't play well, we'll be out fast. Other people drop a little bit if they don't play well, and that will not be our case, because I don't think that we've earned the right over time. Maybe we are, in the first 3 weeks, one of the top 5 teams in the country, but we haven't been over time, and we were when I was here before. We were somebody every year that they said, I think we were 10th in the country the year before. So people were saying, yeah, look out, North Carolina's good. Nobody said that to this point. That's what we are. We missed too many tackles on Saturday. We're not getting sacks. We're not forcing turnovers. I mean, I'm in that group that it's good to be 3-0. We're finding ways to win. But we don't have any lock on number 5 in the country. We got to play good, and we got to play good every week to have a chance to stay there or move up.
Thanks, Mac.
Thank you.
All right, last one for Coach from Taylor Vipolis. Taylor, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Taylor Vipolis from Inside Carolina. Sam, Mike, and Javonte have all spoke about how much respect they have for that front 5, and then you could see situations like Jordan Tucker having Sam's back after that targeting hit. It helps to have pure talent on the offensive line, but how much of a difference do you think it makes when they love the guys that they're blocking for?
Taylor, it makes all the difference in the world. It made a huge difference that we got Josh Azudu back, because he gives you a guy who can rotate in that group. And Ed Montelis had to play 20, 30 plays instead of 60 or 70. So it really helps you. But I thought Jordan did have Sam's back after the targeting call, but he didn't get a penalty. And he went, he got Sam out of there, and then he got out of the way, which was very classy. But the fact that we've had the same offensive line last year and this year, unlike what's happening to us on defense, is really, really helpful for us offensively. The fact that these guys have been with Coach Searles for a year, the fact that they've been with Coach Longo for a year, they know what to do, and they know the calls to make, and they know how to fix things. And we had a little mix-up on the 1 sack. We're still trying to get things fixed, but the best teams in the country have great offensive lines. When we won the national championship at Texas, all 5 guys went to an NFL team. 4 of them played for a long time. So that's what you've got to do. And we've got all these offensive linemen coming back again next year. So it's exciting for us to see them play so well. And now what they've got to do is we can't walk around with our chest stuck out. We've got to go back to work, and they got to do it every week. But there's great camaraderie and respect for each other right now on offense. Still trying to put all that stuff together on defense.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Coach, thanks so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Have a great week, and I'll see you Wednesday. And we do play 7:30 on ABC National instead of 7. And we do play at 12 o'clock, if you haven't heard, with NC State the next week.
Thanks, Coach. Hey, did you guys hear we have some updated game times? All right, good. All right, we got Phil Longo.
Morning.
Morning, Coach. Thanks for joining us today. First question will come from Ross Martin. Ross, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, I'm going to continue on with the offensive line. How would you evaluate their performance, and how did you move around Azudu from tackle to guard and back and forth, and kind of how he fits into this offensive line and moving forward?
So I would say Joshua Azudu is he's a benefit for a number of reasons. One, just his physical presence on the offensive line. It gave us another guy up front that can be a dominant mover up front in the run game and does a really good job in pass protection. It also gives us a guy that is he's versatile and he can play numerous positions. And so, Coach Searles uses him to spell a number of different guys, including Tucker and Montilus. And so he's just a guy right now he's our everything guy, and he's an every down starter. So, and he can help us spell the guards and the tackles.
What do you think the offensive line did really well in run blocking? I mean, what was clear on tape that they did well?
I think we got what we expected to get defensively, so that always helps. I think, and I say this all the time about our team, it's a well-coached team, and you see that because every single week this team gets better, even dating back to last year. And the offensive line is no different. You know, they're a representation of, I think, where our team's going. They get better every single week. You know, and we run what we run. And so every time we get a new scenario, we adapt it. We adapt our run plays to what we're seeing. Coach Searles will map out, you know, how we want to handle that particular stunt or pressure or what we're going to do against the run game that we run every week. And the guys, you know, they're veterans now. These aren't, we didn't have a lot of returning starters last year. This year, we've got everybody. And I think the veteran nature of the offensive line is a huge help. And I think the fact that they get better every week is a huge help. And they're playing with a lot of confidence right now. And then the other thing I will tell you, Ross, is, you know, we practice with tempo in every single practice. And the guys don't even realize how fast we're running the offense in the game. And truthfully, and I've said this before too, they're the ones that are saying, hey, crank it up, let's go. You know, call it faster, get the play in, let's rock and roll. And when you have your linemen of all people doing that on the offensive side of the football, we're in a good place right now.
Great, thanks, Coach.
Okay, let's go over to Alyssa Ray.
Hey, Coach, how have you seen Javonte Williams and Michael Carter improve even as the season is going on? And it seems like their confidence is getting greater each game, and it seems like they're also feeding off each other.
Well, you're supposed to say these things about your players because you want your program to be this way. But the two of them, they're two of the most unselfish football players I've ever been around. And we have a lot of that on our team. You know, the receivers cheer for the receivers. The tight ends are high-fiving each other. The quarterback, Sam's helping the other guys. The other guys are helping Sam in practice. I mean, there's just so much unity right now and unselfishness. And when you have the diverse amount of talent that we have, you need to be unselfish. And you just have to understand that any given week may be your week to explode, and it may be your week like the receivers this week, and they made some plays in the passing game, but they blocked their tails off on the perimeter for Javonte Williams and and Michael Carter. And so the two of them are the biggest fans of each other. People see that on our football team, the staff and the players. They feed off it. I think they follow suit, and that's kind of our attitude from position to position. So as long as that keeps continuing, I think you're gonna see us be successful. And I think you're going to see us be able to spread the ball around to a lot of different players.
Thanks, Coach.
Yes.
Okay, Jacob Turner, go ahead.
Hey, Phil. Mack mentioned this in his press conference, but he talked about how you guys were a perfect 5 for 5 in the red zone, minus Sam Howell, obviously kneeling towards the end of the game. But was there anything specifically that worked well for you guys and why you guys ended up being so successful down there?
Well, this year we've been a lot more like the second half of last year. The first half of last year, we made probably more mental mistakes in the red zone area than we would like to have down there. We also we probably didn't run the football as effectively down there as we would have liked. That improved and got better in the second half of the season, and our red zone offense improved and got better down there second half of the season. I think really we're just continuing the red zone momentum from the end of last year. And I'm very, very happy with the attitude of our offense, particularly up front when we're running the ball in the red zone. And I think we're doing a better job right now, 11 people across the board executing from an M&A missed assignment standpoint. So we're a little more focused, we're making fewer mistakes, and obviously we're more physical up front. Those are the two biggest differences in the red zone right now.
All right, let's go over to Gregory Hall.
Coach, Florida State has allowed 6.5 yards per play. Obviously, they've played Notre Dame and in Miami, but I was just curious what you've seen out of their defense heading into this week.
Stats are deceiving sometimes. I think any stat line you look at, whether it's the cumulative from the season or from the previous game, if you just look at the numbers, you can feel pretty confident about maybe being able to run the football or being able to throw the football. And if this season has improved, that every single game is its own entity. You've got all kinds of results out there right now that have been very surprising to a lot of people. You know, I think a lot of people are picking teams that haven't won. There have been a lot of upsets already in such a short season. And all of that, I think, is generated by, you know, this different season that we're having. But the focus that our guys have right now of just locking into each individual game. You know, you utilize the statistics and the tendencies and all the reports that you get to try to formulate your game plan. But, you know, probably the more important thing, and the point I'm making is, every single game is its own world. That's something Sam Howell and I talk about all the time. Every single play is its own play, regardless of where we threw the ball or who we handed it to on that same exact play the last 10 reps. This one is its own play, and we've got to do whatever the defense is giving us. And so each game is the same way. So it'll be interesting to see how Florida State chooses to defend us. You know, they've shown a few different approaches this season. I think a lot of that has to do with who they're playing, obviously. And it'll be interesting to see how they view us and how they choose to defend us. And then obviously we'll have to attack it accordingly.
Watching on film, what players have stood out? Because obviously Florida State always has a bunch of athletes on their defense.
Well, they're huge to begin with. They're long, they're rangy. Just across the board, you've got a few guys that are a little bigger, a few a little smaller, but they average 290 pounds across the D-line. One defensive end is 6'7", the other one's 6'5". So we're going to have to do a good job in the pass game of keeping their hands down. In the run game, obviously we need to continue to get movement, which we have gotten better at, and we did a really good job on Saturday of finishing off runs. Fans don't necessarily appreciate some of those little things, but when you have linemen finishing run blocks 3 and 4 yards down the field, you know, you have an appreciation for how hard they're working, because it's not easy to do. And those are that's clearing grass for our running backs, and I think they're special. When we can get them across the line of scrimmage, they're special. We don't have to coach our running backs on the other side of the line of scrimmage. Coach Gillespie does a great job of preparing them. But once they pass the line of scrimmage, we can sit back and watch them go be athletes, and that's really what we're trying to get out of our run game. And so I think that's the approach is going to be, what are they giving us, and let's take it. And I've said it 100 times. If we have to throw at 70, if we have to run at 70, whatever it is they're giving us, that's what we want to execute and do without MAs and with some physicality, and I think it gives us a chance to win offensively.
Thank you.
Okay, CL Brown, go ahead.
Hi, Phil. I was curious what you would attribute the success of the opening drives. You guys are 3 for 3 scoring touchdowns each game. What would you attribute that success to so far?
You know, I'd like to say it's the staff. I think the game planning and running the best plays early on, the ones we like the most. I always ask our guys for their top 10 plays. A lot of that input from them goes into you know, maybe our little checklist for the opening drive. But the truth of the matter is our guys are really the biggest reason. The players, they've prepared themselves well during the week, so we have confidence on Friday and on Saturday morning heading into the game. We've had 3 really good pre-games right now, and I think the focus in the locker room is where we want it. And when all those things are heading in that direction, in a positive direction, typically you come out of the blocks and you play well early, and we've been able to do that. And so hopefully that continues here.
All right, let's go to Dina King. Go ahead, Dina.
Hey, Coach.
Hi, how are you?
Daz Newsome had his best game of the early of this season. Just want your thoughts on how important it was him getting a couple scores and getting him kind of on his routine.
So I heard everything you said except the name. Who did you bring up?
Daz.
Oh,
Daz
Daz.
Newsome.
Well, you know, Daz is, I blame myself for the first game. I mean, we really need to get him the football more than we did. And so I've got to earmark more plays for Daz Newsome, for De'Ami Brown. You know, I will say, in defense of it's hard to get the ball to so many good players in every single game. Now, that's our goal, is to spread it out and force the defense to have to defend everybody. But I blame myself. I don't think I did a good enough job from a play calling standpoint of getting the football in Daz's hand, and we were able to do that this game. Sam Howell made some really, really good decisions with regards to to getting the ball to Daz, and obviously good things happen when he has the football. So we're going to continue, obviously, to do that. And I think the more Daz touches the football, the more explosive he'll be this season.
Thank you.
All right, Andrew Jones, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, a couple weeks ago, Michael Carter told us that one of the differences in him this year as opposed to last year is that he's quicker, faster, and more explosive. Can you add anything to that about why he's having the kind of success he is that has changed from the player he was before?
It's Coach Hess is standing over here, as a matter of fact, and I credit him with a lot of the athletic and the physical and the speed and the change of direction development that we have with our guys. I mean, I do. I think we have the best strength coach in the country. Love our staff. And when you can visibly see a difference, and I know who you're asking about, and I'm talking about him specifically, but the team, when you can visibly see a physical difference in our guys from last year to this year, you know the program's working. Our guys are faster. Their change of direction is better. Michael Carter's quicker. Diami's quicker. Daz is quicker. Sam Howell is more flexible in changing direction. So I just think that overall program for all of us has all of our players has had a direct impact on their performance on the field. And I really think that's the honest answer to the question you asked me. I think it's the players' work ethic and the time and effort that they put into the program. And I think we're doing a great job developing them in the offseason.
Aside from that, what part of his game has he improved the most on?
Oh, just probably overall technique and his knowledge of the game. I think having veterans come back, Andrew, they just come back with so much more experience in all of the different scenarios. And, you see a lot of them handling more progressive situations better and differently and more effectively than they did last year. And, I think that's his biggest improvement from last season to this season.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
All right, last one for Coach. Brendan Marks. Go ahead, Brendan.
Hey, Phil. Thanks for taking the time. Obviously, 3 games is, a big enough sample size to start to draw some conclusions for you guys. And, we talk about the improvements on the offensive line and with the running backs and Sam's accuracy, obviously. But I'm just wondering, are there things that you still don't know about this offense? Like, what if you had to pick something, what would be the biggest thing you don't yet know about this group, whether it's one position or sort of cumulatively across the board?
Nothing really comes to mind other than I would like to see us get Garrett Walston and the tight ends involved more in what we're doing. And they're part of the plan every week. I mean, they really are. We hit Garrett early on a big third down. He kept the drive alive for us. We had a nice touchdown at Syracuse. And there are some things in there that we've actually put in and designed for that position and for Garrett specifically. But situation of the game and calling one of those particular plays and the ball winds up going elsewhere because somebody else is open before that's really the only reason he hasn't seen it more. And I think his role and the role of the tight end in the offense is probably the thing I'd like to see change a little bit. I'd like to get them more involved in what we're doing. Outside of that, we feel comfortable about our personnel. We have confidence in each other. We like where we're going up front. We obviously love our backfield. Our signal caller, you can't find a better one. I mean, and we're talented at receiver. So I've got to find a way not to screw this whole thing up, and we'll get our tight end the football a little bit more and let those kids just go play. And it's about getting 1 week better every single week. And right now our only focus is Florida State. We've got to be 4 weeks better for that game. If we do that, that gives us the best opportunity to compete on Saturday.
Thank you.
Coach Longo, thanks for your time today.
You got it. Thank you, fellas. Y'all have a good week.
We'll have Coach Bateman here in a minute.
Hey, Andrew, what was your question? Was it about Hess?
No, it was about Michael Carter.
Gotcha.
Michael told us a couple weeks ago that he's quicker, faster, and more explosive.
Gotcha. I didn't know if you asked specifically about Hess first.
That's all right. All right, we got Coach Bateman.
Sorry, man. Hope you weren't waiting too long.
All good, Coach. Thanks for joining us today. If you have a question for Coach Bateman, please use the raised hand function. First one today comes from Gregory Hall. So, Gregory, go ahead.
Hey, Jay, I was curious about you guys' pass rush. 7 sacks in the first game, and then 3, and then 1. What have you seen out of that, and how can you guys create more penetration in the backfield?
Yeah. So I think Syracuse was a pretty a lot of their offense was drop back pass, and so they probably gave us more opportunities to rush the passer. You know, Boston College, I think when you watch the game early, you know, we got a ton of pressure in Boston College the first 15 plays, and I think after that, they did a really good job of not letting us pass rush. You know, it was a lot of move the pocket naked, kind of play action stuff where some of our pressures couldn't get home. And then I think against Virginia Tech, other than third downs, we just had a hard time, getting into situations where we felt comfortable rushing the passer because of some of the run game schematics we were getting. So, Florida State's going to be similar to Virginia Tech. And so some people just aren't going to let you rush the passer as much, Greg. So I still feel good about, I thought the sack we had in the third quarter was a huge play in the game. So I still feel good about our pass rush when we get in the right situation and against the right team.
And what have you seen out of Florida State on film as you guys get ready for Saturday?
Yeah, so they've kind of the new quarterback they're playing. He really started the last 2 games. A really talented kid. He was at Louisville. Lonnie Galloway was very familiar with him, very complimentary of him. And I think really since he's come in, they've kind of got a little more juice. He's really athletic, can run it. I think he's their leading rusher. I know he's their leading rusher. So they do a good job. Coach Norvell is a good coach. We have to do a really good job on the quarterback run. We have to do a really good job. They create a lot of conflict with dual plays, with our eyes, and I think that was probably one of our biggest problems Saturday. And I think that'll be the challenge this week. But they're talented for sure.
Thank you.
Okay, Brendan Marks, go ahead.
Hey, Jay, thanks for taking the time. I'm
Sure.
just sort of curious if you could give us your overall thoughts on the way the defense played on Saturday. I know Mack had said that it was going to be tricky going in, but just sort of your take on the way that things actually unfolded.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like the short answer is not very well. But we didn't tackle well, and that was the most disappointing thing to me. And we missed twice as many tackles as we missed the first 2 games. And a credit to that goes Virginia Tech. They made us miss. And I think what they do on offense is difficult. We obviously have to have a better plan for it. But we didn't tackle well. I didn't think we got off blocks very well. And I think ultimately what happened is the secondary was too involved in the run game for too long. And I think that's when we gave up some of those big ones at the end. That was the secondary not doing their job. So it was kind of a trickle-down effect. But we certainly have a lot to work on.
Thank you.
All right, Jacob Turner, go ahead.
Hey, Jay, kind of feeding off that question, the third quarter was obviously when Virginia Tech kind of clawed their way back in the game. From a defensive standpoint or even maybe a team standpoint, what changed in that third quarter that maybe allowed Virginia Tech to cut it to what 5 as I think is how close they got it?
Yeah. So, whatever I tell you is going to be an excuse, right? Like, we didn't get it done. We needed to tackle better. We needed to get off blocks better. And, I think they made some schematic changes in the way they were blocking a couple things that I didn't do a very good job adjusting to. I think we kind of settled down, after we got the sack and kind of, I think at that point we really, the run game became a little bit more manageable, but we weren't getting off of blocks well, and some of the schemes they were giving us were different than what we had seen earlier in the game, and I didn't do a good enough job of getting us in a better position. So credit to them.
All right, Andrew Jones, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, staying on the third quarter, they ran 25 plays, and you didn't have Ray available. A couple of the guys weren't available either. How much did you guys tire in that quarter, and how much was that probably responsible for what they were able to accumulate?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly didn't help, but to me that's an excuse, right? No one cares, right? Like they got an onside kick, no one cares, right? We got to go play, and we need some of our younger guys to be able to go in the game and play better than they did, and that was part of it too. So Andrew, my man, we're never going to say like, oh, we played too many plays. Like that ain't no one. That's the way college football is these days. And we got him in the third down and didn't get off the field, and that was ultimately what did it. And then I think, I don't think we got as physically tired. I mean, some guys were probably physically tired. I think we got mentally tired, and that was the most disappointing thing for me.
Staying on that, what did you miss not having Ray available on Saturday?
I mean, Ray's one of our better players. He's a good run defender, but I think ultimately what it did was it just, Virginia Tech was committed to the run. They did a good job with it, and not having another rotational D lineman, it caused other guys that hadn't been playing as much to play more, and I think we got worn down a little bit. So I hope he's ready to go this week.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, let's go to Ross Martin.
Hey, Jay, how would you evaluate the play of Cam Kelly and Patrice Renee, who both saw significant snaps against the Hokies?
Yeah, I was proud of both of them. They both have had a kind of Patrice Renee's had a hard year, since he tore his ACL, with everything else that's going on. I'm really proud of how that kid battled, and we don't, we don't talk a lot about all the other stuff going on, but there was a lot of things going on that were kind of out of Patrice's control that affected him getting ready to play. And, so I thought he played really well. I thought he was the most physical he's been since I've been here, which we challenged him all week. And then I thought Cam, here's the deal with Cam Kelly, right? He transferred from Auburn. We got him here in the summer. We didn't think he was going to be able to play. We didn't think he'd get a waiver. We finally get a waiver. 2 weeks later, he starts against Clemson, is playing really well, tears his ACL. Well, then, he missed all that learning of being in the meeting room, being out there getting work. And so then he comes back, and now we don't have spring practice. So, he's behind a little bit, just, as far as learning the defense and getting reps and all those things. But I thought on Saturday Cam played really hard. I think he led us in tackles. I anticipate him playing a lot moving forward.
Did Virginia Tech try to take out Chaz Surratt? I mean, were they focused on really blocking him? I don't know what you saw on tape compared to what we saw.
I think they did a good job of not allowing him to be the free player. We went into the game thinking we could get him to be the free player, and they did a really good job of not allowing us to do that. And I think ultimately, if you said in the chess match of the blocking versus run defense, that was what I needed to do a better job of.
And quickly, Don Chapman looked like he played. I mean, had one of his best games of his career. Yeah. What did you see from him on tape?
Look, I love that kid. I mean, I put him at corner. He's played corner like 10 snaps in practice. And I said, Don, go play corner because we needed to we needed to change how we were fitting the run a little bit. But at the same time, he gave up the last touchdown, and he knows that. And Don Chapman's going to be a terrific player here. He's already a really good player, and I think as he gets more and more reps, I think you're going to see a really complete football player.
Great, thanks, Coach.
Yep.
All right, Luke Buxton, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, continuing the trend about asking about players, Mack said that Kyler Michael was the Defensive Player of the Week. What did you see out of Kyler, and kind of what do you think are his biggest areas that he can improve on for the future?
Yeah, so, I mean, I think Kyler played really physical, and that's something we've been challenged on. And again, here's another kid that, I mean, his freshman year at Clemson, I think he played about 150 snaps, mostly in mop-up duty, then sat out last year. So, I mean, that was his third game he's played really of any substance in a while. And I feel like he gets better every day. I really do. And, I mean, we basically asked him to play. I don't know how many plays we played, 80 or 78 or something. Like, he played man on almost all of them. And they completed one third down on him. It was a good route. But other than that, I mean, he did really good. And when they threw the screen, when they tried to attack us on the perimeter out there, I thought he was really good. He's a big, strong, fast kid. He's a great kid. I'm really glad he's here.
Quick follow-up. It seems like your defensive group is a very confident group on just the way they kind of carry themselves on the field. After a performance like this that doesn't kind of necessarily match the previous two performances, what do you tell a team like this after a game?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing we didn't do on Saturday is what we talk about all the time. That's our fundamentals. That's tackling. That's communication. So I think when you don't have success, you go right back to working on what do you think are the most important things, and clearly for us that's tackling and getting off blocks and communication, and that's what we're going to go back to and work on.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
All right, last one for Coach Bateman. Alyssa Ray, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, I guess the only silver lining about dealing with some injuries is that some young guys get some solid game reps against a top 25 opponent. How beneficial is that experience moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, Alyssa, the worst thing about being a college football coach is your kid's getting hurt. It's the single worst thing, right? So when a kid gets hurt, right, it's like, you know, you feel like one of your children was injured, right? So that's the single worst thing about it. But, you know, we have a lot of young men that deserve to play that work their tails off. And so when somebody does get, you know, nicked up, you hope it's not serious, and then you get the next guy ready. And, you know, we've got a lot of young kids that are coming along, that are getting better every day, that have surprised us when we put them in the game. You know, no one asked me about Eugene Asante. I think he played about 28 snaps and played really well in a really specific role. So I think, you know, Alyssa, I think that's going to continue. You're going to see, you know, I thought Kevin Hester, when he went in the game, did a really nice job. So I think a lot of those young kids, you know, have improved, and their rep totals are going to go up as they continue to improve.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Coach. Appreciate your time today. Thank you.
No problem.